Welcome to session 7 of the Habitek Insider Series. Today we're talking all things M&K Sound. I'm currently joined by Martin Dew from M&K and Richard Magnus from Seriously Cinema. So keep it brief, guys, but give yourselves an introduction. So Martin, for M&K, what's your role at the business?
Well, I've been with M&K about a year now, just over 12 months. My title is project manager, but I'm actually getting involved in training for distributors and thereby by extension to dealers as well. And I'm sure there'll be some consumer stuff thrown in, but I'm also helping them with public relations functions like writing press releases, writing brochure copy and all that kind of thing. So I guess in a sense, I'm doing technology marketing is how you'd put it. Okay,
fantastic. Thank you. And Richard, Seriously Cinema.
Seriously Cinema.
I mean, it's kind of in the name. It reveals itself slightly, doesn't it? But, you know, maybe give us a background on what you do and maybe how you started.
Seriously Cinema, I launched it just under 9 years ago. I've been into home cinema since day one. Laserdisc, CLD 2950, absolutely obsessed with it. Always wanted to do it as a career. 12, 13 years ago, I looked at what other companies are doing out there and thought, I can do this, I can improve on it, and decided to launch Seriously Cinema. And we aim to give the best cinematic experience for any client budget that's possible, and we take it very seriously, hence the name, and it's a passion. It is a passion. I am a hobbyist. I love it, live, eat, breathe it, much to my family's dismay at times, and have built a very successful career out of it.
Excellent. So they say, do something you love and you never work another day in your life.
Exactly.
Martin, would you mind giving us a background on M&K Sound? There's a lot of history and pedigree there for the brand, but there's a lot of people out there that may not know what the story is. So would you mind just giving us the story?
Yeah, well, I mean, actually, M&K was formed next year. It will be 50 years ago, so 1974. Founded by two engineers, Ken Kreisel and Jonas Miller, who actually opened up a store in Los Angeles at around the same time. They also started to develop loudspeakers mostly for recording, but then with a commercial application through to end users as well. This idea of having a satellite and subwoofer combination rather than using full range speakers. And that's for both monitoring audio in a professional environment and taking that same concept and passing it on to the consumer as well. And this model evolved during the 1970s, and by the 1980s, they'd pretty much come up with their kind of format, which was a relatively small bookshelf speaker to handle all frequencies down to, say, 80 hertz, at which point a subwoofer bass box picks up all the bass frequencies for the low end. This happened to chime with some of the work that Lucasfilm had been developing for their home THX program, so there was kind of a fusion there and a meeting of minds, and consequently M&K became one of the first THX certified licensees for home THX. And so really that idea of subsat became synonymous with home cinema as we know it today, because really using subwoofers is the only way to achieve balanced and smooth bass in a small room, because bass is very difficult to manage in a small room. So that's kind of been our evolution. Because of the inherent neutrality of our speakers have been adopted in many professional environments, i.e. in small recording studios, rooms where Blu-rays are mixed and mastered. For small room applications, there's this overarching neutrality, which is something that recording engineers love. And so by passing that on to the consumer, they can also be sure that what they're hearing is what the sound professionals heard themselves. So that's kind of in very broad strokes, the timeline.
Okay, brilliant. And that then makes sense, being that the slogan or motto for the company is the choice of professionals, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Which is why I really believe in the story, because it's such a great background for a speaker manufacturer to have, as you say, the early association with THX, recording studios. I believe it was Steely Dan.
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
Back in the 70s. And I'm a firm believer of imparting a story about something to an end client when they're coming in to have that experience. So to have that background is really fantastic.
So, Charles, so one of the things with our speakers, which I don't know if your dealers are aware of, but our loudspeakers are used in many professional environments still to this day. And famously, Lucasfilm chose M&K loudspeakers and subwoofers for the entire audio workflow of the Star Wars films, episodes 1, 2, and 3 in the late 90s and early noughties. That means our speakers were used not only during pre-production, but during production itself and post-production, so that there was this continuity of sonic quality running through the entire chain, so that when the mixers came to eventually do the final mix, all the elements made sense and were represented similarly, across all that timeline. And of course, editing has become a real-time phenomenon as well. So this idea that they could listen to and watch the rushes at the same time was kind of a pretty novel approach at that time. So yes, and we've got this legacy of being used. Of course, the same happened with the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Peter Jackson took on our speakers for all his rooms. And we are still getting orders to this day from all the major studios in Hollywood because they are still using our loudspeakers. Mostly in small room applications. Again, they could be small recording studios, small dubbing studios for TV mixing and monitoring, and of course the final authoring of Blu-ray discs and streamed content as well.
That's a really compelling story, I think, to impart to an end user as well. Is yes, it's THX certified. Yes, there is association there with the part of the film where actually they kind of don't really think about was how was it created, how was it mixed, how was it mastered, and then to have the same loudspeakers
in your home.
Watch the film in your home.
Absolutely, that's something I wanted to touch on. So whether we're in our showrooms, we've got a full 300 system, and we've got a full 150 system currently. Being able to say to an end user, this room, and predominantly the 150 series, but the 300s are used in the professional environments as well. These are the same loudspeakers that are used within industry. So whether they are the in-room, the in-wall, or the on-wall passives, because a lot of studios will use the passive speakers, but then we've also got the active MPS 2520p active monitors. Insane. They are absolutely incredible. So to have a client with you and you say, yeah, well, these are actually used by Hollywood, whoever it is, and they are.
Oh, okay. This is serious.
Wow, this is serious. Yes, there are other manufacturers out there that are used within the industry, but to have a product and then their professional range, their X series subwoofers, the connections on the back, XLRs in and out, you can stack them. They've got their bass management controller that doesn't go into the average cinema room, but then it trickles down to their lifestyle systems, the M series, the new D series. You've still got that clean, clear, neutral sound. And we will obviously have a lot of clients who, you spec a full 150 system, budget may become an issue. Well, we've got other options. We've got the 950, we've got X, Y, and Z, and they're using the same technology and drivers, but then move down to the M series, D series. Yes, they're multiple colours, grey and satin white, so aesthetically they're room friendly, but you've still got that performance. And we'll do a lot of installs, media rooms in listed buildings, etc., where it's an on-wall system around a TV. Performance is incredible.
And we're still getting endorsements from very well-known sound designers. They particularly like our stuff, and usually the basis is the 150 system or the 2520s, which are the powered versions. But it's really the idea that what goes in is what comes out, and that's what sound designers need. They need that absolute neutrality, and that's what you get with M&K. I mean, across the range. But the 150s and the 300s are really the kind of iconic and reference.
They are. And the other, I've had a close personal working relationship with M&K themselves. And because we install a lot of M&K products, we've asked for certain products. If you made X and if you made Y, we could really, really do with this. And they will listen. And some products have actually come to market because I've badgered them. And I know of some things that will be coming in the future. And it's like, fantastic. This is what we've been after. This will work. And I think it's very rare for a manufacturer to sit back and actually listen to their end user, their clients. This would be an amazing product. And they'll R&D it and they'll look at it. If it's feasible, and they have brought some products to market that we've asked for years and years and years.
I also think from our point of view with manufacturer relations as well, and we have it with other manufacturers, but it's the same for M&K as well, is I actually prefer working with a smaller company where you can talk to people, and if there is a problem, you get transparency. It's got people in there who can make decisions and they can get it resolved quickly and rightly. One that we can talk about at the moment, there was M&K themselves and Dan in our technical support identified a capacitor issue on one of the active sub, the V10 Plus. It was a particular batch issue. It was a very small. I think there was 5 units we had that were affected. M&K came to us with a statement of, this is the problem. We've identified it. This is what happens is a capacitor inside the board which just popped, and we've identified it. This is the issue, the step we've taken to resolve it. The supply chain had moved to a Japanese manufacturer, and this is how we've improved our quality control testing to ensure this doesn't happen again. Yeah. These are the units we've identified by serial number that we think you have. Can you please quarantine these? We're going to replace them. They're already on the way. And the people that did have those units have already been issued advanced replacements of the sub up, which is not affected. So the 10-inch sub's been free of charge replaced with a 12-inch sub. That is how a manufacturer should behave when we're dealing with end clients.
I think Richard Branson always used to say when he started Virgin Atlantic, he said, small is beautiful. And at the moment at M&K, there are only 5 of us who are full-time employees. And that's in contrast to earlier in this century when M&K was to the power of about 250 employees when they were in Chatsworth in California. And now, of course, we're Danish-owned. So the makeup, if you like, of the company has changed dramatically, but we still power on and go from success to success.
And everyone that's in the business is very passionate about it as well, which really came across when we first met with yourself and Per and Nikolai.
Yeah.
Very intelligent, smart businessmen, but people that are passionate about what they do. And that's why you mentioned at the start you're passionate about what you do. Everyone is, and that's why it's such
I love talking about M&K speakers because I adore them myself. I'm a fan as well. That's why I'm in the company. I love it.
Yeah, brilliant. Richard, your business, Seriously Cinema, the part I'm going to put you on the spot here now is, there are many different manufacturers out there of lots of different loudspeakers. So what is it about M&K for you? Because your business is heavily focused on M&K as a brand. I know you're really passionate about it. So would you mind giving us an idea of, what was it that made you go, M&K is for me?
Firstly, I love the sound of them, the neutrality. But touching on what Martin said, it's because it's got a pedigree and a history. So when you do have a client, it's not just speaker A, speaker B. There is a history, there's a professional history behind them. It's also choice of products, the flexibility. So other than the performance, there's a speaker to meet all price brackets and size of rooms. And we're looking forward to some new products coming in the near future where we can do even bigger rooms. But it's just having that flexibility, and I'll always describe it as a giant Meccano set. And it's reliable. So depending on the room, there is a solution. The budget, there is a solution. It's the form factor. You've got in-wall, you've got on-wall, you've got in-room, you've got more of their lifestyle products, which are still very, very high performance. You've got great dispersion characteristics. Neutrality is important, so it's just a neutral loudspeaker. And as the MK adverts say, it doesn't add or subtract anything. What you put in is what you get out. It doesn't mask the sound. And it's just a very, very easy product to work with a great range.
And it's worth mentioning as well, isn't it, Richard, that all the products are timbre matched sonically.
Yep.
So for dealers, it's very useful to have that at their disposal, because a customer may want to pay more, they may want to pay less, but there's a solution for every room, and mixing and matching is totally possible across the range.
And that's it. So, LCRs, we may have a higher spec LCR and we'll put in slightly cheaper surround speakers, but it's going to be completely voice matched all the way around. Sonically, it's incredible. And something else to touch on, it's their subwoofers. They're absolutely incredible. And yes, there are amazing subwoofers out there, but the M&K subs, in our experience, and we've been dealing with them for 9 years professionally, are incredible. It's tight, fast, accurate bass, and particularly their X series. It's instant start, stop, start, stop. And when we have a demonstration, clients are blown away. They're like, well, where's this bass coming from? Do you have something in the chairs? Is something in the seats? And we chuckle and say, no, we don't. But the bass doesn't dominate. It's there when it's required to, and it just starts, stops, starts, stops, and it's fantastic, which then affects the whole musical frequency, the entire range.
And hopefully, they're all very musical, we feel, as well as having that real low-end grunt,
But that's it. So, it's cinema is our prime reason for existence, but we do a lot of 2.2 systems, a lot of music systems, and we will use, the in-room speakers, whether it's the S150s, S300s, or even the in-walls with a pair of M&K subs, and incredible 2.2 channel results. And I think it gives a lot of hi-fi products a serious run for its money, because it's professional monitoring equipment. And
in the X Plus series, I think also our push-pull configuration, where you've kind of got this action of an accordion going on, and combine that with the sealed enclosure, and you get another 6 dB of headroom, and tremendously powerful response, even from the little X10 Plus, which is the smallest of the X Plus range.
Agreed.
I
think for us as Habitek, as the distributor of these products, it's really good to have, as you mentioned and touched on, the flexibility of being able to mix and match throughout the range. We have so many different types of rooms, whether that's a media room or a full-blown cinema, where maybe it's in London and actually they don't want to build out every single wall, and the client's actually quite happy with the aesthetics of the on-walls. So maybe they would just build out the LCR, have a higher performing LCR that's hidden away behind a screen, and then they can go for some more lifestyle-y on-wall speakers, which is something that few manufacturers can really do. So I think that's a really big part of it for us. And as you say, the subwoofers at the price point that they're positioned are phenomenal. I remember seeing, even on the, as you say, the lifestyle product, the little D95 on-wall system with the V10 Plus subwoofers. When I first heard that, I remember we had our cinema specialist in, and I looked at him and went, how much is this? Because it was phenomenal for a little setup. 5.2.
Yeah.
Few things, we're spoiled in this industry as well. You go out, you get to hear a lot of product, you get to hear a lot of systems set up by different people as well. So you can, there's lots of different styles of rooms out there. There's few things these days that impress us. That was one for me where I just thought, okay, yeah, we're onto something here. This is fantastic. So Richard, I'm going to throw another question at you. I kind of alluded to it before. There's lots of brands out there. So what is it for you as an integrator, an experienced integrator as well, how do you choose your brands? And that's not specific to M&K, but what is it for you?
Obviously, demonstration, going to listen to them. I have to believe in the product. I will often take products home and live with them at home. Now, I'm not going to mention any specific brands. I know what I like. And I know that they're my views, and a lot of my clients will believe in what I feel works. And there are some fantastic brands out there, but I found a business model that works very, very well. I get behind the brand. I learn everything there is to about the brand, so I can be the best I can be with that. I mean, there's a huge plethora of products out there, and I think you need to specialise in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 brands. These are the core brands. These work well together. This works well, whichever amplification you pick, the speaker's performance, and evaluate it. And I have to believe in the product to sell it, so to speak. So at home, I have an M&K 5.2 system. Now I can have anything I like. And there are some great brands out there that I'd happily live with. But for me, it's MK. I live with it. I absolutely love it. And it's having the courage of your conviction where you have a client and you speak to them and you do the demonstrations. You've got to impart that passion and belief to the client that we're not just selling you a product, because this is a speaker and it makes a sound and it's wonderful. You've got to have that. And a lot of clients' feedback is you're very passionate about it and you really understand it, and explaining the history of the product as well, and it having that bit behind it. Yeah, that's it basically.
Okay. Passion is, you kind of hit the nail on the head. It's one of those things that you can't fake it. You can't feign passion whatsoever. And here we're spoiled for choice. We've got so many different rooms and so many different setups.
Yeah.
And sometimes you do get those end users that come through and that, it's the age old, I haven't got an ear for this stuff. And you can take them round and just talk about it, sit them in the rooms, show them the different levels, show them different products. And some of them will notice the difference, some of them don't. And they say, you know what, actually, I don't need the Rolls Royce of cinema rooms. This for me is absolutely spot on. I like this room. Great, no problem at all. So yeah, passion's really important. I'm going to throw another one at you. And I'm going to put you on the spot slightly. So when the news first came out that Habitat were going to work closer with M&K and we were going to become master distributor in the UK, we've spoken about this off camera months ago now at this point. Yep. I know there were some hesitations.
Yes.
Is that fair to say?
Question would be coming.
Yeah.
Here's my prepared script. No. There was hesitation, obviously, because I work very closely with M&K. Big believer, so it's a huge shift when distribution changes, and it happens in the industry. But it's been absolutely fantastic. Any of my concerns were spoken about, and there are no concerns. I had my assurances, etc., and I am completely happy. It's fantastic. Yes, I'm here at Habitat, so.
You're not going to tell me to my face right now. I'm joking.
But no, it's been absolutely fantastic. The support, you want to order products, they're there. Yes, we have our own fantastic showrooms, but for me, it's fantastic. We're north of London. Having this south of London, it's brilliant, because sometimes a client won't necessarily want to travel an hour, 2 hours up to us. We now have this facility here to say, we'll have an M&K Dem or other products down here in Basingstoke.
Yeah, another option, right?
It's another option for me, which works well. And it's also nice because we can only have X amount on Dem. You've got some stuff here that we don't have room for.
Yeah.
Because floor space costs money.
It costs money, and also, as you know, you mentioned there's new products coming. The D95 range is still fairly new, and we know from experience, we have to refurb this place every 8 months, and that's stretching it out, actually, because we represent lots of manufacturers here. Stuff changes all the time, and for you to still be on site, because you've got to do sales, you've got to do technical support, you've got to do system design, to try and then stay on top of a showroom as well. It's just another string.
It's hard. Where you touched on the D95 when you had your M&K launch here. Yes, we've had the D95s in our showroom for months, and yes, I've listened to them, but I didn't pay, sorry Martin, particular attention. I thought, this is just going to be another great M&K speaker in a different form factor. When I heard the Dem in there, I asked the question, is this 5.2? Is it 5.22? Because it was incredible. So much so, later on this year, we're going to refit a lot of our showroom. We're going to have a D95 system in there as a 5.2 or 5.22, because we're so blown away by it, but it hits fantastic price points.
Yeah, it really does.
And it's wonderful to do a £50,000, £100,000 cinema room, but to be able to provide a system £5,000, £6,000, £7,000, which is a lot of money for people, but a system that performs so well, it's like, yes, we've got to have this system on Dem. And yes, they have their M series, which equally is fantastic, but that D series I think it's something very, very special, and we plan to do a lot more with it going forward.
I'm glad your reaction to that was similar to mine.
Yeah.
And it was for a lot of integrators, I think, on the day.
Yeah.
What? This is phenomenal.
Yeah, and you've got your fantastic MK 150 room. We've installed hundreds of them, 150 rooms, 300s. I know what they sound like, and your room's fantastic. That room caught me out. I was like, wow.
And you know why it particularly caught me by surprise, caught me off guard, was that it was obviously for the day, it was lashed in on speaker stands, running on an R-cam, no calibration, literally just set levels, and thought, okay, well, we didn't have any more time, to be honest. We were like, right, well, we just want to show it. And everyone was just blown away. So that's great. So, Martin, would you mind maybe delving a little bit more into M&K's partnership with THX, and why is the THX certification important to, one, yourself, because I know you're very passionate about cinema and have been in the industry for a very long time, but what's the importance of having a standard as a loudspeaker manufacturer?
Well, and I actually, part of my past is working for Lucasfilm for 9 years, actually. I worked for them on both the residential side, home THX, and then ended up going into Pro as well. But yeah, M&K was one of the first licensees. And I think what THX wanted to look at is that multi-channel audio is a very different beast from two-channel, particularly in a small room. And the goal of THX really was to take the cinema model, the professional cinema model, where they license their brand to cinemas that reach certain standards in film presentation, and see if they could apply those same rules to a small room. A small room's quite a bit more complicated, like I said, for managing bass. And so they came up with a certification program known as Home THX. There are a couple of very sort of key rules which have to be followed. One is that across the front soundstage, i.e. left, center, right, you have relative focused vertical dispersion of the sound emerging from the speaker. That's to eliminate first reflections from floor and ceiling. Now, the net result of that is that you get a much more precise front soundstage as effects and music and dialogue pan across that front soundstage. It's much more precise in nature, and has to be, because of course you're using 3 speakers and not the 2 speakers that you'd have in a regular stereo system. Also, the surround loudspeakers should be, as THX determined, dipole in nature, meaning that they should create a kind of diffusive but immersive feeling on the side and rear walls to mimic the multiple loudspeakers that you have in a large cinema or in a large dubbing studio where films are mixed. So it was really trying to bring that professional level to the home, and of course doubling down on that satellite subwoofer combination, which we need to control bass in a small room. You really ideally need 2 subwoofers reproducing the same mono signal so that you can deal with sound waves to make the bass response smoother and more even across the listening area. Those are the kind of fundamental principles of THX. And they completely apply to immersive audio as well, where we've got stuff going on above us as well.
For those that are listening that haven't seen it yet, there is a really, really great video that you can watch yourself to understand a bit better about the history of the brand, but also it's a fantastic sales tool to show to an end client. It's a video called The Beginning. You can access it on the Habitek YouTube channel as well as on the M&K website themselves. It just talks a bit about what Martin touched on earlier in the podcast, which is the history back from the 70s to present day and everything in between. That, to me, when we've done end user demos, we've sat them down, we've spoken a little bit, very brief intro, sat them there, played that video, and before they've even heard a demo of a film clip, they're like, I'm in, I like this, this is what I'm after. So I'd really encourage you to do that. We will put the link for that as well in the description for the video if you're watching this on YouTube, and if not, just get in touch. But I think we'll leave it there, chaps. We don't want it to be too long. So thank you both very much for your time.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much.
And yeah, see you in the next one.